Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, hope you guys are having a fantastic night like I am. It's currently Friday night, 10:23 p.m., and I thought I'd finally start something that I've been wanting to do for a while, and it's the reason why my channel's been dormant for quite a few months now, is that I've been really into daily fantasy sports, especially on DraftKings, mainly because I live in Texas and FanDuel doesn't operate here. But I've been doing this ever since I turned 18, and I've fallen in love with it, and am so glad that they're finally including the Xfinity Series this year. And I thought I'd fill the void that daily fantasy sports has with the Xfinity Series, because no one really covers it. I don't see excuse me, I don't see a whole lot of guys really looking at it. I know Daily Fantasy Army has a couple articles here and there on it, but I don't really see a whole lot of podcasts or writers and stuff really focusing on the Xfinity Series. So I thought I'd kind of fill the void and make a podcast on it, and I'm going to start making a daily fantasy podcast on NASCAR and the NFL when that starts, whenever preseason comes around in August and September and all that type of stuff. I mean, I've turned into a huge sports fan over the last couple of years, so I thought I'd at least put the stats in my mouth to good use and start helping some people out. So I'm going to be dropping the Coca-Cola 600 podcast tomorrow after final practice. It'll probably drop at some point, probably around 4 p.m. Eastern time, I'm going to guess. It'll probably be during the Xfinity Series race, so you can watch that and then come back to my YouTube channel and watch my picks and strategy and my opinions for the Coca-Cola 600 on Sunday night. So without further ado, let's get it started with this week's, I'm going to call it the BrandonCruz podcast. I think that's good enough. Also, I got a new Twitter account. It's just for daily fantasy sports. It's BrandonCruzDFS. So just look that up on Twitter, follow me, hit subscribe if you guys are into this type of stuff, and if you got any feedback or anything, I mean, feel free to comment, feel free to tweet at me if you have any opinions on what I'm saying. Just feel free to let me know. So this week on DraftKings, we got the NASCAR Xfinity Series $30,000 beast, 11,155 people being paid out in this out of a 4,411 player field. That's roughly 26%. It's an $8 entry, so it isn't too bad. It's not going to break you or anything. I'm currently just putting 2 entries in there. I'm saving most of my money for the Coca-Cola 600. I plan on doing close to 8 or 9 entries, depending how it goes, if what I'm feeling at the end of qualifying. But thought I'd go down and look at the drivers, look at the prices, just look at their stats, see what I think, and just say what I'm seeing. And I normally like picking drivers after qualifying and after final practice, but I'm just going to use this now just so this gets out there and people can hear and see it and all that, since you only have about 3 hours between Xfinity Series qualifying and the race tomorrow. So without further ado, let's get it started. I mean, at the very top of the price range, it's Kyle Busch at $13,900. I don't really see a reason to use Kyle Busch unless he starts on the pole. I think Keselowski's probably going to get the pole tomorrow, and I think Keselowski's probably going to lead a majority of the laps, only because he showed just more consistent speed over Kyle Busch. I mean, Brad and the 22 team, they had, I think it was a 2/10 average 8 laps into a run on on Kyle Busch, excuse me. Because at the end of the first practice, Brad Keselowski was P1 on the long runs, and then he was P2 at the. He was the second best on long runs in the second practice, and the first best in the first practice. And just, I don't think Kyle's going to have the speed to really get by Keselowski. I think Keselowski has the car to beat tomorrow. If you want to have some sort of lineup with Keselowski and Kyle, I mean, that's going to just break your bank, because you're going to be averaging, I think it's around like $5,000 for the rest of your team. So you're definitely going to be picking scrubs after that. And then if you head down, you got Jamie McMurray and Chase Elliott, the other 2 guys in the $10,000 range. I mean, Jamie McMurray hasn't ran here in the past 3 years in the Xfinity Series, but the 42 car has been fast with John Hunter, Nemechek, and Kyle Larson in it this year. I mean, it'd be great if these guys, if like Chase Elliott and Jay McMurray and these guys would start freaking like 22nd or something. There's no way that's going to happen. It's probably going to be Keselowski first, Kyle Busch second, Elliott or McMurray third or fourth, and that's going to be your first two rows. So you're going to have to choose one of these big guys. I don't see a real reason to just go real top heavy with two of the guys in the $10,000 range. And then you got Elliott Sadler. I mean, the consistency, the living consistency in daily fantasy sports. I mean, if you're playing cash, Elliott Sadler is where you're going to go. I mean, he has top tens in every race this year so far, and he has been your best bet for just DraftKings points. It's amazing how consistent this 11 team has been, or this one team has been. Excuse me. Then you got Justin Allgaier, a little bit more, I wouldn't say volatile. He just isn't as consistent as Elliott Sadler is. I'm going to go through all these drivers, and then I'm going to talk about guys that I think are going to really stand out after qualifying. And then you got Christopher Bell. Christopher Bell only has one race here in the past 3 years, and he finished 17th. Let me see. He was 8th fastest in the first practice, 4th fastest in the second practice, and he was first in the long run. So it all depends on where he starts. Like I said, I think Keselowski's going to be I think he's going to be a hog in this one. Cole Custer was fifth in both. He was fifth in the first practice, fifth in the second practice, and he was fifth at the long. Yeah, he was fifth fastest in the long term runs in the second practice. So you had Christopher Bell number 1, Keselowski 2, Kyle Busch 3, Jay McMurray 4th, and Cole Custer 5 in the long run speeds at the end of the second practice. And then you got Kaz Grala popping out of nowhere with 8th fastest in the second practice. I mean, I don't know really. I don't really know what to think about Kaz in this new team that he has right now. I mean, they only have 3 cars. I don't know if they're really going to be. I don't know if he's really going to be racing really hard. I mean, he's only 7,300, but I don't know. Kaz is crazy. I don't know. He finished. He had a tremendous run at Daytona, just like he did in the Truck Series last year, and then he just really hasn't been any contender for any points, whether it be real life points in the Xfinity Series or daily fantasy. I'm gonna go back to the stupid to the dollars because I was just looking at the practice time. So you got Sadler, Allgaier, Bell, Custer, Ty Dillon, and Hemrick. Your 8,500s to 10,000. Certainly not a bad. This isn't too bad. I mean, you can get away with one top stud and 10 grand, and then you can drop down to one of these guys. Ty Dillon is one guy I'm really going to look at tomorrow with qualifying. I don't think he has the qualifying speed to get a top 10 starting position, but I think he has a car to get a top 10 finish. I think if Ty Dillon starts, I mean, like 11th back, I'm definitely going to be rolling Ty Dillon tomorrow. He had tremendous speed. Let me see what he was running. Right now, he was 11th quickest at the end of the second practice, 9th fastest in long run, and then he was 6th at the end of the first practice. So I think Ty Dillon is certainly in play if he qualifies in the back. Well, really, all the RCR cars, I think they have potential to really pass a lot of cars. I don't think they're going to qualify that well. There's just way too many studs in the field. I mean, you got all the Cup Series guys. I mean, I guarantee you they're going to take at least like they're all going to be in the top 7. You might have a couple of Xfinity regulars pop up there in qualifying, but I think all the Cup guys are going to be up there. So this really helps you find value in some of these guys. Going farther down, you got Tyler Reddick, you got Ryan Truex, Brandon Jones. That's going to round out the rest of the $8,000. Brandon Jones has been really interesting. He's another one that I think if he qualifies really crappy, and I mean crappy as in like outside top 14, he's definitely in play as well. I think he had, let me see what he had. Let's see. Brandon Jones, where are you? Where were you? 15th fastest at the end of the first practice, 18th fastest at the end of the second practice, and 11th on long run speed. So I think heck, if Brandon Jones qualifies 15th, he'll be good. He'll be a really good play. Then you got Austin Cindric, Ryan Reed, Chase Briscoe, Ross Chastain. Ross Chastain is really interesting as well, and he actually has some decent finishes. He has top 15 in the fall race here last year. Ryan Reed's pretty consistent. He's got a 13th, 8th, 16th, 20th, 13th, and 15th place finish in the last 6 races here. And then we get to Kaz again. I don't know. I think if the only way you could really play Kaz is if he qualifies outside the top 25 tomorrow. Other than that, I don't really see much going on there. Michael Annette's I can't get Michael Annette. I just don't really play him. I don't see the need to. I mean, right now he was 21st at the end of the first practice, 23rd at the end of the second practice, and 14th quickest and long run speed at the end of at the end of the second practice. But man, he just does not show up. I mean, this guy is, let's see, he has 20th, 13th, 17th, 18th, 15th, 21st, 20th, 14th, 15th this year. That's just not fun, man. Especially if you're qualifying like 22nd and then you finish 20th. I mean, you're not worth anything at this point. Let's see. Let's continue going down. You got Garrett Smithley, Ryan Siege, Alex Labay. Labay has been a great play for me whenever he qualifies really bad. I can't understand why he qualifies bad at some tracks and then he'll qualify great at other ones. But man, if Alex qualifies outside the top 25, I wouldn't be comfortable playing him top 20. But if he qualifies outside the top 25, he's definitely a good way to save money, because let me just check his average finishes his finishes this year. Let me just look right fast. Where are you, Alex Labay? Let's see, there you are. Let's see, 21st, 24th, 16th, 11th, 32nd, 19th, 22nd, 17th. I'm not going to go any farther back than that. I mean, if he qualifies close to 30th, I mean, Alex Labay is an amazing play. He's really good. Ty Majeski, as a fellow iRacer, I love Ty Majeski, but he has just not had the finishes. He's been wrecked in the majority of the races that he started, not just this year, but last year too. He's just been getting really bad breaks. It's unbelievable. I wish he would get something good. I mean, for crying out loud, he's 6,700 on DraftKings this week. Let me see. Yeah, I mean, he's finished. I think he's wrecked in every single race this year. 34th, 37th, 34th. It's a darn shame. This man deserves a way better run than that. JJ Yeley. This is another car. Like, they show amazing speed. Sometimes he's just a starting park. He's not really worth taking the risk. I mean, he finishes in the red most of the time. Looking at the graph that I'm looking here, I mean, he has an 18th and 19th place finish at Phoenix, and the 19th place is at Richmond, so I think he's just running the short tracks really well. I mean, he finished 28th at Dover the last time they ran. JJ Yeley, he's just not really in play unless he just craps the bucket and like starts like 38th or something. Same with Clements. I mean, 22nd at Dover, 33rd at Dega, 14th at Richmond, 40th at Bristol, and 17th at Texas. These guys have got to qualify in the back, and with so many slower cars, you just know they're not gonna start dead last. I mean, hell, you got like Morgan Shepherd, who's always pulling off. When you get to this like mid 6,000 to mid 5,000 range, it's real tough. I mean, Joe Nemechek has been a really good play. Because he's been starting darn close to the back. Sometimes he doesn't qualify, and there's only 40 cars, so he starts in the back, or he just doesn't have the qualifying speed. Then Vinnie Miller, I believe he wrecked in the first practice. If he's in the 01 car, I just went blank on what number he drives. I believe it was Vinnie Miller who wrecked. Or the 01 car wrecked. I can't for the life of me remember who drives that car right now. One guy who I'm really looking at with value is Dylan Lepton at 5,500. That's tremendous value. I think he's drastically underpriced. The only way that we can really take advantage of that is if he qualifies really crappy, which is, I don't think he'll do that, because these last 2 races he started inside the top 20, and then he's finished outside the top 23 in both of those. So I hope Dylan Lepton doesn't qualify very well tomorrow. I think he'll be a really good play as well. Going down. Let's see. And then when you get down here to like BJ and all these guys down here in the 5,000 range, or in the high 5,000s to all the way to the low like 42 where Morgan Shepherd is. I mean, these are all the guys that are going to be starting 30th to 40th back. Really, the only thing that I would suggest here is if you're not already doing it and you're really short on cash, you got to try and find a guy that's starting 40th, 39th, 38th, and find a guy that isn't a starting park that can take advantage of starting park cars and hopefully finish 30th. There isn't a whole lot of science behind that when it comes to this with the Xfinity series, since some guys just can't afford to run the 4 races. So those are my opinions on the drivers and where they are, where they're at. I mean, let's see. I think Chase Briscoe is another car that could be a contender if. Oh, I mean, I always say if they don't qualify good, because that's what I'm always looking for. I'm always looking for people who will get the position points and everything. But I mean, the 98 car is a flying fast car. Going back to Ty Majeski, I mean, he's had such bad luck. I don't think a lot of people will pick him just because they'll see his crappy DraftKings points with his negative 12.7 points. But I mean, Ty Majeski is someone you could get on to really get a different lineup from people. I don't expect a whole lot of high ownership, and I don't expect a whole lot of ownership of James McMurray. I think he's one of the Monster Energy drivers that just won't be picked, because everyone they'll either be going for Kyle Busch or Keselowski or Elliott. Christopher Bell is why I think Christopher Bell is going to be really popular. I think he has potential of starting in the top 5, so we'll just have to check and see where that goes. On Sunday, or on tomorrow's podcast, I'm going to have a lot more opinions, because I'm going to know for sure who I'm going to want to pick based on final practice speeds. I think final practice is that is so important for the race, especially if you're new to racing and all that stuff. I mean, it doesn't tell you exactly how the race is going to go, but I love going off of final practice, because that is just guys working on race trim, and I think tomorrow's podcast will be better than this. This was just going over the drivers and kind of where they are running, just like a small little snapshot of these guys. And I think, what are we at like right now, like 18 minutes or something? I think that wasn't bad at all. I just saved you 2 hours of watching stupid practice and everything. All I would say at this point is check out qualifying tomorrow if you can. Just see who qualifies really crappy. Hopefully we just have a whole lot of weird stuff happens where a lot of like value guys will just be in the back, like Lupton and Majeski and all those guys, because that's where you could really take advantage. And I mean, you only got a 4,000 player field in this in the big Beast tournament tomorrow, so you can make your lineup pretty different pretty easily. It's not like you're going against like 30,000 people like you do in the Cup Series sometimes. So I just want to wish everyone luck. Like I said, I got a new Twitter account, BrandonCruz DFS. Follow me on Twitter, like these videos, and if you want me to do anything different or add more information, or just like not talk as much or anything like that, just write your opinion down in the comments and just let me know what you guys think. I'm going to call it there. Thanks for listening, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Wish you guys the best of luck tomorrow in the Xfinity Series, and hopefully you'll come back and listen to my Coca-Cola 600 podcast tomorrow. Thank you, guys. Have a great day.